Welcome back to part two of Paul McVeigh, The Good Gay Son and Other Stories. Viewers and listeners are reminded that this episode may contain issues that you may find triggering. If you need support, please contact joe@hereandI.org. So thank you for sharing that. That's
No worries.
a vital part of the experiences of growing up gay in Belfast and wanting that connection desperately and
Desperately.
having limited chances to make those connections.
Mm,
And that's why you took the chances.
absolutely. And then
Yeah.
that's why like a lot of people left of my generation left to go to London and or elsewhere,
It was
because
easier.
well you just, you could be well, one, you could be free without being under the gaze of your family and friends who you worked out with, or who you couldn't explore everything that you could be. You know what I mean? Because you had to keep parts down. So what happens if you're walking around the streets so nobody can see and nobody knows who you are, and suddenly you want to like wear more daring fashion, or you want to go to a nightclub where like thousands of people are in it, and not, and
Yeah.
and with great music and fashion and all these things that you could do that, because and also that without just those restrictions that you had at home. And
Yeah. And
mm,
those homegrown inhibitions,
I know.
you're free of those. They're kind of like being on holiday. And
Yes,
then
yeah,
imagine for the first
yeah,
time living your life
yeah,
that way. It's
yes.
so free and you would never want to come back then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's brilliant. I think it's really amazing. I think that's one of the wonderful things about now is that, that people don't feel like they need to leave to be themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, I still do think it's part of, I mean, I do think part of growing up and becoming an adult is getting out of your house and getting away from your people and going away, whether it's to university for 2, 3 years or wherever it is, and then coming back like, yeah, I know what life's like, and you've got your own wee style and you've got your own dreams and ambitions, and you are different and you become yourself. So, and I think artistic people, creative people do quite often need that little time as well to go and just sort of like be the artist they want to be with, outside of the just those experiences and influences at home. But I think what's great here is like, I mean, but for this has been like this for years. I mean, coming home, I had go out to the Kremlin and went to the line. In fact, I was in Limelight watching an Amy Winehouse gig last night, and I had real deja vu and creepy, like, oh, shivers of like going into the Limelight. Do you remember? Was it a Monday?
I think it was a Monday.
Limelight on a Monday
Yes.
night. Now, I was never a big fan. I went a couple of times, but it was just didn't like the atmosphere or something. But anyway, I remember that as a gay night, and that was really, really way back in the day because I can remember specifically meeting one guy in there that was an experience. Anyway, but I'm trying to think, and then what other places would I go on? And then. But I wasn't really cool enough to go to all like there was ones that were was it the Orpheus? What were the ones that were like they were sort of arty straight venues, but they accepted gays and they were I can't
Yes.
remember what they were called. Was
The
it the
Orpheus was
was it the
was
Orpheus?
one
Was
of
it?
them.
There was like they were
Yeah.
clubs, but all the art students went, and then
Yes.
I can't remember what they were late at night, and then that was the other thing because those ones tended to be after one, so like people would go to a bar and then we go there like half 11, 12, and then you could bring your own drink. Could you bring your own drink? Because I think there wasn't any bars there or anything, and
Some
I
of
can't
them.
remember
Yes.
what they were called. But anyway, I never really, they were all like, because people were just so themselves.
What era are you talking?
So I'm talking
80s, 90s?
80s, would have been 80s, I think. And they were like, oh God. Was one of them round by, where that dance place is, facing Maverick, or up from the Irish News, and one of them was upstairs in there, where that dance hall thing is, and it was called, oh God. Anyway, do you know what? I remember maybe once or twice, and it was all very art studenty, and everybody was all kind of very quite flamboyant and not flamboyant gay, but I mean arty dressed, you know. And you wouldn't have got away with that in our time. Like you could be running around like that, all artistic and everything.
No.
And I just remember just feeling very out of place. It was very, I think that's another sort of work, one of the hangovers of being working class. And not, I mean, I'm still working class. I love being working class, but I do, one of the hangovers is, that, you would run around looking like that. There was definitely a feeling that you had to,
Toe
yeah,
to the
I
line.
just like, like, who do you think you are? Do you know what I mean? Stuff all that running around like that,
Yeah.
showing off and everything. But, where else would I go? But then, of course, later on when I was in London, I come back and then, I remember going to the one round and was Milk. Going with that
Milk
later on, wouldn't it?
in Tomb
Yes.
Street.
Again, I never nearly jailed with Milk, and I, but very nice people run it, and I, really beautiful venue and stuff. But again, just didn't, it never gelled with my personality. But um, I did love. I remember the Kremlin have some absolute gags in the Kremlin. I mean, like back in the days. Do you remember when Titty used to be outside with her megaphone and all, and
Yeah,
she was hilarious. And
Kitty's fabulous.
oh my God, she's
It's still
absolutely
going to
great.
this day.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah,
I know. Where is she? Where's she go now?
all over. But I
Is she?
think there's the Tomb Street where Milk was. It turned into Libertine, and then
Oh,
it closed a couple of years ago.
all
And
right.
now it is reopened as another
All right.
place. And I
Okay.
think Titty might be there.
All right. Okay. I'll have
And
to
she
check it
also
out.
does a bingo night. I think on the Beehive on the Fall
Do you know
Show.
what? I was there once years and years ago. I think when it started off, a friend of mine knew the owner of the Beehive or something. And we ended up somewhere. I think that was that. And then I remember. But I loved and Union Street in the Kremlin. I had many many happy times in there. And yeah, and then Maverick. I love Maverick, and I used to have great nights in there as well. So yeah, so I mean, like I mean, now it's to be honest, I'm rarely go out. Um, but it's a real funny thing about that thing we were talking about going out on your own because there's such a big difference going out on your own as a young man and going out as an old man.
Yeah,
It's like. I would go out 4 nights a week in London to clubs, like with thousands of strangers, and I would go in, and I wouldn't matter if I didn't speak to anyone all night, because I'd go to the dance floor most of the time. I'd be talking to some of the barmen and some of the staff and things like that, and I would just like make friends, and or just dance and just love it, love the music and love the life, and going out as an older gay man, like, you know, I could, going out on your own and standing in a bar, it's like, it just fills me with dread. And I think, also, I think there's part of it's like an internalized, you know, fear of my own prejudices of like, I remember when I was younger, looking at those sort of old man at the bar and thinking, God, that's really sad, you know.
yeah,
Look at that bohemian sitting at the look at the bohemian sitting at the bar. Like, I mean,
yeah.
she was completely happy, but in my head, I turned it into, like Disney and sort of, the Waltons or something. I was literally, I thought, oh,
He
I
has no
need them.
family, no friend.
Oh, the poor wee man. I should go over and talk to him. Or the creepy old man. You
Yeah.
know, here, I tell you what. Here's another thing people don't talk about very much. Just because I'm in the mood to talk about things that people don't talk about very
Do
much.
we bring you the biz
I'm
here on
telling you now.
Queeritage?
Oh God. Um, do you remember this? Back when you were younger, there was a real people were very handsy with you in bars and clubs.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
people don't talk about that.
You get
But it was,
groped and
oh,
felt
it
up.
was, I mean, like, I've never heard anyone talk about it, but
Yeah,
I got into myself into some read, like, I mean, you would, I mean, just to explain it, like, you would just be walking from the toilet to the bar, and particularly older men, but I'm not talking like my age now, 50. I'm talking maybe just in their late 30s or I think anyone felt, but not usually not someone your own age.
yeah,
And it was completely acceptable if you were walking from the bar to the toilet or if you had your hands full with drinks or thing like that, for them to grab you anywhere they wanted.
yeah,
Like it was, it could happen to you 10 times a night. I mean, it could. And I remember when you're young, it takes you back so much, and then you just think, oh, it's just part of the thing. I have to accept it.
yeah. And then it becomes like
And
a
it just becomes accepted, and
attention.
then you start to sort of like, turn it into something funny.
Yeah,
You sort of go, oh, did you do that? Or something? Because you think this is part of the deal, so I've got to find a way of handling this because I don't like it. So I'll turn it into a joke or something, or say, oh, like I'm flattered. I'm fucking flattered, you know. And so then it becomes, and then I remember going to London, and I remember coming back, and it definitely was not something that was happening in London. Or maybe it was a different places I was going to. Here, I think because There weren't very many places to go. I mean, one of the amazing things about that was that you could have an 18-year-old and a 78-year-old in the one room, and we were and lesbians and they were trans, and everybody partied together because we were all in one bar,
Yeah.
and that was amazing, and I loved that. But maybe then because then I was only going to clubs where all young people or wherever, nobody was doing that, and also I think it was a culture thing here. It was very aggressive, and I remember coming back, and I remember the first time I was so shocked because hadn't happened to me in years. And I'd gone away and I'd hit the gym and I'd gotten to bigger, musclier, and kind of, like I was a really slight, thin young fella, you know what I mean? So I even if I wanted to get offended when I was younger, I wouldn't really know what to do with it. Two, who's going to get into a fight in a gay bar back then? In the sense of like, then get thrown out in the street or never getting back allowed back in because that was the only place you
Yes.
could go. And then also, or I would be on my own and they would be with their friends. And by and large, it was people with a group with friends as well. So then, what are you going to do? And then also it's this idea, like if you said, "Oh," and they sort of go, "You're fucking," take it as a compliment, So I'm gonna take it as a fucking compliment. Get your hand, you know what I mean? Get your hands off me.
It's
But
sexual
it's
assault.
sexual assault now. Back then, it was seen like that it was this was okay, and it was sort of almost expected, and that you should be flattered, and that it was and I think this whole thing, which the whole thing, the meat market near a piece of meat, there was definitely something in that. Like you were literally, and because you were a man, you just wanted sex all the time. That's the way it is, and therefore, why would you complain about it? Because you were complaining about it, you were like a woman.
Yep.
It was like really, really
And
dark. And when I came back, and I remember turning around and going, get your fucking hands on me. People going, why is that? Say getting on like that for. I said, fucking, when you run around groping people before you get fucking perfect, I'd be like, I'd go mad, and I'd get myself into trouble and the barman coming over to me because I'm being aggressive. And I'm saying, well, he's putting down and they're going, well, wise up. And I go, wise up? Do you want me here, you're straight man at the door, do you want me to start groping you? Would that be all right then? But if you were gay, that was supposed to be okay.
yep. And even when you did have a problem with it, who could you tell? Because
Yeah.
it was illegal, and then even after it wasn't illegal, it was still taboo. And
Oh, there was no way you would go into the police or anything. There was
no,
no, not a chance. But
no,
even within that bar itself, you wouldn't have found anyone to back you up.
no.
If you'd
It's
turned and gone,
accepted.
"Ah, guys, just grab me," they'd have gone, "Rise up." It was really part of the
Yeah.
thing. And no, I've never heard anyone talk about it, and I've always thought, I wonder why that is that no one ever brings that up. Because it
We
was
just accepted it
we did.
as part of the.
But thank God, I don't think it happens now. I
I
mean,
don't
I
think so.
no, well, it's not going to happen to me now because I'm at 110. But I mean, I think uh, but yeah, whew, God, that was definitely those were different times, weren't they?
They were. They were different times.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's interesting that you say you would have, if you complained about it, people would have seen you as like a woman.
Yes,
And it shows
yes,
you,
because if you're a man,
yeah, you should,
you should like it because you just
ex
want sex. You should want it.
yeah,
You should want the sex
yeah.
or something. But I was very interesting. But those are good times. And then, yes, as I said, I don't really go out so much now. But God, it's just amazing how many. You've got the bar, but also all the straight bars now. I did a play there, and about a younger person I ended up in a relationship with. Well, I mean, it wasn't about them. It was about a mixture of about four different people put into one, if you know what I mean. But one of the things was that they'd said to me was, I remember really being shocked was, I said, oh, so what bars do you go to, And they were like, oh, named some bars. And I said, "Oh, so you're not going to say, oh, no, don't go to the gay bars." And it's almost like I loved it on one level that you didn't feel it. You had to be ghettoized,
Yeah.
that you could only go to gay bars to be yourself. And on the other hand, I thought, oh, what a shame, because I don't think there's any problem here in Belfast particularly because but it's happening around, like bars are closing and all that because people are not going out as people are not drinking as much, but also that thing of like not needing a gay bar, because
Yeah.
God, it was such a wonderful thing to go and learn how to be yourself and then see drag queen and see all these things and before drag queens were on the TV, you had to go to a bar to see them.
Yeah.
That they've nowadays generation growing up with them all over the television everywhere. They're bloody everywhere. Yeah, and whereas back in the day it was only there and you got to see all their craft and all the different things, and And you know, and to meet people, of course, this is pre-internet, pre-phone apps. I mean, that's hilarious. I mean, I've been to bars, and you know, someone looks at you and they're sort of like that, and you're sort of like this, and then but nothing happens. And you know, you walk past them, you try to sort of smile, but they don't say anything. And then you get home, and then they're on the app going, "Hey, sexy, what about it?" And I said, "I was literally standing in front of you, you fucking twat. I mean, why didn't you? Why are you waiting till I get home? To do what I mean? Like I tried, you know, and I think it's like, oh, why risk like being turned down or rejected in front of my
Rejection.
friends or something like that when I can just get rejected online and no one will know? Is that it? I think it might be part of it. Um, but also this kind of like, you know, we went out to have a good time, but we really went out to meet other gay people.
Yeah.
I mean, this is before mobile phones, if you think about it. You had to make an arrangement a lot of the time on the Friday night. You met someone, you say, I'll see you next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And you just had to go down and assume that they were there.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they generally, you know, this whole thing, like it was so hard about the whole getting used to how um loose relationship arrangements are now.
Yeah.
Someone can change it right up to 10 minutes before. And people frequently change plans and cancel and do this. But you couldn't do that back then because you knew someone had gone into town, got the bus into town, gone and stood at the city hall waiting on you,
There was no way to
and
contact
there
them.
was no way to contact them. Plus, you're going to see them Friday night because you're only going to go to the same place together. So what are you going to do? You're going to make them do that, and you're going to turn up and go, which of course sometimes it did happen. There was nothing you do, but there's a lot of that sort of like, you know, so whatever you said, you know, that was your word. You wouldn't give them your home phone number because your mum and dad answer the phone, and they go because as soon as they come, who's that? Oh, it's somebody from work, you know, it's somebody, and you come up with all this stuff because occasionally you did it or you got clever ways to do it, but most of the time you didn't give them your home phone number, and there was no way of contacting them. And so you made an arrangement and you stuck to it and you were but those were back in the days as well. Do you remember like if you met someone on Friday night and you snogged them, they were your boyfriend? Do you remember?
Yes.
And now what makes me die, the last couple of people I've dated, and you know, you're 6 months in and they're still like, oh, I don't know, can you say boyfriend? It's like they think if you say boyfriend, you're engaged or something.
Yeah.
And now it's like we're what is it? We're seeing each other, we're dating, we're exclusively dating. We're there's about 5 steps before boyfriend. We're exclusively dating. Now we're off the apps dating. We're and then there's something else. And then there's the thing. And like I've seen people like that we're having a party because we're going to announce that we're boyfriend.
What? Did you
Yeah,
define what your
hard.
name was?
Or they're sort of like it's like you know, and they've been living together for 6 months or something. You go,
Yeah.
or no, or maybe that's an exaggeration, but this idea that like if you say someone's your boyfriend, that you've sort of I don't know that you've written something in blood. Like they're so fearful of anything like
Commitment.
that. Yeah, really. Like I mean, they're like, but they want all the benefits of it or something. It's a really interesting world we're living in. I mean, but I don't. That's one I don't get. I don't get this real fear they have of calling someone their boyfriend or something. And um, but that's interesting. But it's nice to see so many people seemingly um at peace with themselves and out and open and you know, I remember the first time I seen I'm trying to remember how long it was ago, but I remember the first time that I ever saw a gay couple holding hands in Belfast. The first time, and it wasn't that long ago. It was probably maybe 10 years ago or something. I remember I was in a Cornmarket at a coffee shop, and I saw these two young guys. I'd say they're probably about 17, 18 or something,
No fear.
holding hands and walking across. And I swear to God, I cried because I held hands with someone in Soho in London, and it really, you know, it really affected me really powerfully because here was my home city that I lived in. Well, I suppose all my youth, obviously, until my early 20s, and then back now. But that I had never seen that, and I just want, you know, and though it's those things that I mean, under the big things like having clubs and the right and then doing all this stuff and shops and going around and parties and things, but just two people holding hands, you know, just this moment of um, and yet, you know, there were people looking, glancing, and I'm sure they had more than one person say something to them because that's just the nature of the world. I mean,
Yeah.
but even in London, there are areas in London. Or sorry, probably better put it the other way around. I mean, there are areas in London where you're safe. I mean, you definitely see that a lot. Like but there's like you're talking really Soho. In fact, you're not even just talking Soho. You're talking Old Compton Street. You're talking one street in a city of 10 million people, by the way.
Yeah.
So when they try and exaggerate all this, it's a city of 10 million people. It's massive. There's more people in London than the island of Ireland, and you're talking about one street and people are going about, oh, the gays have everything. You're talking about one street, really. But I mean, if
Yeah.
you went down to a local area, and went to a local area outside of town and you walked around hand in hand, I'm sure for a lot of people it'd be fine, but there would be other people that wouldn't be,
Yeah.
So I think it definitely seeing that in Belfast was really moving for me. And I made a point of actually at times then, after that of holding hands. I remember an ex of mine and I were doing it we were actually doing it in going from Union Street to Maverick just across the road. And we were just literally held hands just for that short bit. And two people walking across the end of the road started shouting queer and everything down at the street and everything like that, running at us and everything.
Serious.
Oh yeah, and I mean you're going like literally we tried to hold hands from there to there, and it's a problem. So I do think things like that are again we all running around saying everything's great, but that there's still all of that. I mean you just need to go onto Grindr and see how many people are blank profiled. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, that's because, a lot maybe some of them are cheating. And but I mean, it'll be because, they're not out. They're still living their lives, grown men, and not out. So what's that about? If
Yeah.
everybody's happy and great with themselves, and we're all out here, and everybody's out in the world, and everyone that's okay to be gay, and everybody's just running around having this big gay joyful life, and it's like, well, it's clearly not the case. Just
No, there's a lot of men still married with children and living a lie.
Well, there's that, but I mean, I think that's probably a small portion of it. I think that's absolutely true, but I think that's probably a small portion. I think most of them are just single men who are out pretending are living either as bisexual or who are gay, but who are living a straight life, going with girlfriends. Because a lot of people don't get married nowadays.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they would have been married men, but marriage is not the common thing anymore. People, but they're in relationships maybe with women, stuff like that, living a straight life. But I know a lot of them would go, well, I'm gay, but I'm not out at work, or I'm going and I go and I'm gay, but I'm not out to my fun. And I go, and of course it's going to sound really harsh because I do have sympathy, and obviously you can talk to people. But the other thing I think about it is, and I've definitely mellowed a bit, but I definitely been through a phase, obviously because I was burnt about something. But I said thought, well, if you're going to lie to the people that you love the most and who love you the most on a daily basis, you're not going to think twice about lying to me. If you're going to hold one of the most important things about your person to everyone who loves you and everyone you spend all day, every day with at work, at home, and how am I ever going to believe a word that comes out of your mouth? Because that's what you do. You're used to. You're living this duplicitous existence that you will do what you feel you need to do. You can justify that to yourself, so you'll be able to justify whatever about what you do to me because you'll find a justification. Oh, because they won't accept me. Well, if they love you, they will, or some of them won't, but some of them will, and not everyone in work, and not, so you just don't have the nerve to do it. No, and it is an incredibly difficult thing to do. But I think if you're living your life like that and have been doing it for 10 or 20 years and you're still doing it, I'm not talking about the kid who's, grappling with it, or the person who's come to it in their young adulthood who's, I'm talking about the people who are lifetime committed and have no intentions. It's not like they're going, I will come out, I'm working up the courage, or I will come out and just have to grapple with this and this and this first. No, I'm talking about the people who are going, that's my life, and don't touch
Yeah.
it or question it because that's, and I go, wow, okay.
So you're a writer, Paul, and
Yes.
when did that start?
Um, I started writing when I started. I had gone into like theater at university, and I was directing, and then I set up a theater company here in Belfast,
Right.
and we were working on projects. Excuse me, I wouldn't really call when I called myself a writer. I was like, I'd have an idea and I'd work with a group of people, and and then I'd go away and sort of write but I didn't really consider myself to be a writer. I was sort of like a theater maker is probably the phrase now, or something like that. And then I went to London, and someone I went to university with was now an agent for um stand-up comics. And so she said, I have a number of artists who are going to the Edinburgh Festival and they need to get like an hour-long show together. Would you help them, turn their sort of 40-minute stand-up into an hour-long show? So they'd have different characters and maybe have like peaks and troughs and that. And so that's what I started doing. I started writing stand-up comedy. And that was much more of a writing gig. I was directing, but I was co-writing with them. So that was when I felt like I was actually a writer, getting paid for that. And then I went from that. I was asked by someone who's seen a show that I had written to write a story for an anthology of LGBT writing. And again, that felt very different because everything I'd written prior to that was for the stage. And so this was like really weird. And I tried it and it did quite well. And I, went on a bit of a tour with the book. And then I tried to turn that into a novel, which I eventually did, but took a really, really long time because I had no idea what I was doing. And that became The Good Son. And The Good Son was about a wee boy growing up in Ardoyne during the Troubles who didn't know who he was. And so, a very sort of semi autobiographical. I mean, you take something as a starting thing, and then you maybe take things that have happened over 20 years, but you put them into one summer. And not all the things happened to me, and not all of them, and also I changed his character. He was much funnier and much kind of like quick-witted and resilient than I was. I wasn't any of hadn't got any of those require what do you call it, qualities. I didn't think anyway as a person. And when I was that age, I was so frightened of everything, and I was so scared, and I was, um, yeah, well, I didn't have all of that at all. But and so that it ended up doing really well, and I won an LGBT award, and it got translated to German and French and Hungarian and Russian. And actually, just out of the blue, this year's its 10th anniversary. And can I tell you that? Well, two things have happened. One is that it's coming out in Italian this year after like 10 years out of nowhere.
Wow.
And the other one is that well, let me say this is that so one of the things that happened was that the rights I'd signed the rights over for it to be for stage rights to Universal, and Universal were doing a musical in London in the West End with it, with Snow Patrol doing the lyrics and music,
No
and
way.
Owen McCafferty had written Owen McCafferty had written agreement, the play agreement there went anyway, written loads and films as well. He wrote that film with Liam Neeson and Leslie Manville there a few years ago, but she had cancer thing. He's an amazing writer. Premiere Owen McCafferty. Anyway, at the last minute, it all fell through, as it often happens with these things. One person was delayed putting their thing in, and then the other people then weren't available, and then them and they got new people. The other people didn't want to work. Oh my God. And it was in development for years and it didn't work out. However, let's just say I was contacted about 2 weeks ago about with a new contract with a very nice theater who says they're very keen on doing something with that stage version. So I won't say it. Because I haven't got the contract, so I won't say anything yet.
So
But anyway,
watch this
yeah,
space.
so that's good. And then I wrote a book of stories. There were all stories that I'd written for BBC Radio 4, BBC Radio Ulster. Had commissioned them initially, and then they went on Radio 4. And one of them was Daddy Christmas. I was very proud of that story because it went out at 12 o'clock on Christmas Day.
Right.
So I had great memories as a kid, My mum never didn't used to really listen to the radio, but like on a Sunday when she did Sunday dinner. No, it was normally the Carpenters or something like that. I was always remember my mum playing the Carpenters. But yeah, I think they can't have always been playing the Carpenters because it was the radio. You know what I mean? So, but that's my memory anyway. But that's at lunchtime when your mum's making the Sunday lunch or the Christmas, and the radio one. So the thought that that story was on, that was a really like a lovely month for me. Also, I had a chance to write a story for Christmas Day, and I made it about a gay man. So it was about a gay man on Christmas Day going to see his sister and having dinner with them, and then going out with his gay friends in the evening. And I just thought, um, just because I had that opportunity, I don't always write about gay characters, for example, because you're just writing about different things, but I do mostly, and I did certainly in my novel, but not in this the book of short stories. But this one particularly, I was just really, really proud of because I just thought, here's me, I have this opportunity, I can write about anything. But I want that, being because it's BBC, obviously it goes around the world, just to have that, that I'm going to have the story of the day is going to be about a gay man. I think I just said a lot, I think, about where we've come,
Brilliant.
as a society, to have that, you know.
And so where can people get your book? Is it on Amazon?
Get it on Amazon, but I would say don't go to Amazon. But yes, you can go to Amazon, but go to your bookshop, particularly. I mean, No Alibis up in Botanic Avenue are an amazing bookshop. And I know that there's I don't know if they stock it, but I know, isn't it Paperclips?
Paperclips,
Yes.
yes.
I don't know if they stock my book, but it might be a bit old. It's like 10 years, well, it's 10 years old. And the new one, I don't know. But anyway, but they might have it, so go support your
Or they
place bookshop.
might get it in for you and you
Yeah.
ask them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. You get it in for you, and you get it in. Yeah, they get it in. You can ask them to get in touch with me now, and I'll come down and sign it for you. How's that?
fantastic. There you go.
There you
So
go.
it's called The Good Son
The Good Son,
by
and then the
Paul
story
McVeigh.
collection is called I Hear You because they're all stories from the radio. And actually, although we actually just sold out our tickets actually, but The Big Man was a play I wrote.
Right. Yeah.
It was on in the Lyric Theatre about 3 years ago. And it went on for about 3 weeks, which was brilliant. And it was part of the Belfast International Festival, which is, I think, just starting or coming up to start. And it was about a gay man and having a relationship with a younger gay man. So it was about that they'd both experienced a lot of loss. So, the older gay man had lost his parents and one of his siblings, and the younger gay man had lost his friends, like a group of his friends to drugs and kind of another thing we don't talk is not talked about often, especially in working class areas. It's
Yeah.
working class people that this is these young people killing themselves. And I had just come back and I just heard. I mean, I think I was there that summer. I came back. Three in my area, three young people had killed themselves within the space of about 4 weeks, and it's going, what the hell is going on here? So I wanted to write something in response to that. So there's these two people who met and who sort of, I guess, they fell in love, and it was about, I guess they were sort of healing each other's in some ways, and then and this sort of grieving sort of brought them together. This feeling of loss, of just living in the world with this sense of emptiness and loss, and that for a time they were able to um, fill that up in each other and sort of and make them whole. And uh, the younger man had never been in love, even though he was sort of 30 or something. And it was this thing again. It was another thing I really observed as well. Is like we were laughing about how you meet someone on Friday night and snog them and you're a boyfriend. But also you were like you could be in love 6 times in like 6 weeks. Whereas
Yeah.
nowadays, like, I so many young people I meet, and I suppose 30s, yeah, 30s young, but I mean I guess other people 30s old. And they say to me, I've never been in love. And I go, what? How can you, what happened? What's happened to this generation? I mean, I said, are you just did you spend your youth in your bedroom or something, or did you? Is it because you're online? You're not actually getting out there and connecting with people. I don't know what it is, but I'm really shocked about that because I have never experienced that. I mean, everyone in my generation is like, you know, you've never been in love. I mean, I found that incredible when I met this person. So that was about, and the older person in the play had been on their own for like 15 years, and had said they'd never fall in love again. So it was sort of like their first one. and their last one,
Yeah.
it was like, I'll give this one more go, but I don't
After
think I've
that,
got, yeah,
that's
if
it.
this doesn't work, I'm done because it's just too much. It's too much to do. And the younger ones, so it's almost like a first love and a last love. And it's a gay, and also the other thing I really wanted to do with the play as well was we'll talk about some of the things I've talked about today, and that about the things that we don't talk about enough, I think, but also and to make it real, like here's the people to take. You talk about loss and how we get and the reasons we get together are so complicated, and the way we love someone is so complicated. It isn't always. I just fancy that person, or I really like their car, or I like the da 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 da, da, or I really think they're really funny. It can be because I'm really lonely, or because I'm really sad, and because you take that away for some time, and just being a bit deeper with things, and also that idea, which is much more common now, that younger, older. Well, actually, I was actually, I remember the first guy I did. It was in his 40s when I was sort of like about 20. It's actually a real tradition. I think actually more than I think about it in gay life that when you're a younger gay man to go out with an older gay man, I think there's like a sense of safety.
Yeah,
They show you the ropes or something, and they're not competing with you.
and you think that they've got all of their
They're shit
all
worked.
the yes, and it's not bloody true.
Not really, but I think there's a lot of kindness, and I don't mean that in a financial way, I like a generosity, but I think when now I've done it both ways because I went over and over, and now I've gone out and gone, it's like you sort of go, oh God, you want to sort of almost protect them from some things or something, and they feel like they sort of want protected, and also I think it's just, but also there's also the sexual side as well, but it's interesting, I think, how lives get connected, and particularly nowadays, I think with the whole online thing, it can be a bit mail order bridey, like when I meet you, it's like a prenup for a meeting. I want you to wear this. I want you to say this. I want you to call me that. I want you to, I want to start by doing this. And then there's a list of like five things they want to do sexually, and then if there's one of them you don't like, you blocked or something. And you're like, I sometimes I have quite a give it a fun, and and I'll say, oh, do you want to just send me the script? Have your people send me over the script, and I'll learn it for you. And then sometimes I'll say to people, can I just ask a question? They go, yeah. They say, where am I in this? Because I've just
Oh,
gotten
and
a
you're
list of
it's
everything, and you haven't once asked me. And I would say the biggest. Maybe it's time to finish this actually as well, because it's probably been ages. We were talking, I'm waffling away, but I would say the biggest difference I've known or sorry, I've noticed in the way that people operate now in the gay world, and I think, sorry, I can't say what's happening in the straight world because I'm not in the the straight dating life, but I'm imagining it's general, and I think it's about being online. It used to be when you met someone, sex and intimacy was about pleasing them. That's the number one thing. And I think we've so completely pivoted as a society based on this like the capitalism of sex, the branding of the sort of, onliningness of it, the whole thing. It's become, what can you do for me? Sex has become, I want this. It's like the Beyonce of sex, like if you ain't got this, you can fuck it. And it's like, could you just chill out? And also, like, what is this all about? You better do this, and you've got to have, and you can't, yeah, and I want this and I want that. And yeah, if you're not going to do that, then hit the road. So, like, who do you think you are? You're not Beyonce. Like, you know what I mean? Talk to me, so you say to me, what do you like? Okay, I liked it. I want to
explore.
please you. My job's to please you. And your job's to please me. Your job's not to give me a list of things that I need to do to please you before you'll entertain whether you're going to see me or not. I mean, it's the selfishness that's come into everything, the sort of demandingness of it, and the
Contractual.
contractualness. It's become like a job, and it's become like some sort of legal seal of things or contractor, and you just think, you know, if you just went back to that time, you know, if your job is to please me and my job is to please you, then both people are going to be satisfied. And isn't it a nicer world? Isn't the world nicer? And isn't it a better way to operate as humans? And then, you know, and I'd say by and large, you're going to have better sex because the other stuff, well, I mean, it's kind of, and again, I think it's like sort of detaching of feeling and intimacy and connection from sex. Which, listen, there's definitely a place for, but it's become the norm. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
that sort of just everything's about me. We've just that's the world now. Everything's me, 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 me. Look at me on Instagram, like me, like me. You know, here's me on this, here's me on that. Oh, follow my socials. Oh, do this is here's everything's just so like that. It's like wow, you know, just
And the
relax.
reality in comparison to that makes people crash.
Yeah. Also, I mean that well, depending on other people's opinions for your own happiness is only a recipe for sadness.
Yes, you're putting your
Yeah.
emotions in the hands of other people.
But short time hits, isn't it? It's just short time hits like anything. It's like having a cup of coffee or having a, you know, having a glass of wine or, you know, having, you know, having someone say you like you, you're gorgeous. I mean, one of it, and it's an endorphin, you know, you get away a little hit or whatever that is it endorphin or dopamine or whatever it's called? And you know, you get in this kind of hit and then you get addicted to the hits. And then, so then your life, you're just living life like an addict. I mean, if this is what they've taught, there's documentaries on this, you know, this is why they did it. This is what they've made likes. This is what they find out. This is what humans are like, and this is what they'll do. And they know it's a way of keeping you on the app, and they know it's a way of keeping you online, and that's what phones are designed to do. And that's why we spend hours and hours of our day checking it and looking at it and looking in da 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 and putting out. And listen, we're all guilty of it, but it's whew, it's a lot.
Get it out of you, Paul.
I feel so much better.
So, so final thoughts. Final thoughts then. What advice would you give for young people today?
Um,
You
I
think
think being kind. You
just be
know,
kind?
be kind to people. And the other thing I've really noticed in the younger generations is the lack of empathy. I don't know where that's from. I don't know whether that, again, that's about being online, but I've really noticed it. But I think, you know, enjoy your life and help people enjoy theirs and be kind to people's mistakes, you know. People mistake, but it's to, you know, to err is to be human, you know, like I can't spend a day without making mistakes, you know what I mean? So don't put that pressure on yourself and don't, you know, this kind of, and I think that's all part of that online thing as well, you know, everything's perfection and then they try to be perfect and then they're sort of, I think don't try to be, if you don't try to be so perfect, you won't expect other people to be so perfect, you know, be kind to them and, you know, and allow people to make mistakes and forgive yourself.
Speaking of making mistakes, I'm
Okay.
just going to double check that I have hit record.
Wouldn't that be a gag? Wouldn't that be an absolute
No,
gag?
no, it wouldn't. No, absolutely. Record has been pressed, so
Whoa, well done. Okay,
thank God. So,
well.
Paul, thank you so much for come today and sharing.
No worries.
That bit's getting edited out.
Yeah. You might edit some bits out. Actually, it's probably that's a long. It's probably been on too long, have
It
we?
is.
So you can take.